Hey guys, it's October 18th, and today's video is going to be a bit of a real life update, but a lot to do with the Dota community and some realizations I've had in regards to like my experience with the Dota community in the recent past. So I was experiencing a lot of frustration on stream because I play an Immortal draft, which I know is a problem that not most of you can relate to, except for all my people I coach because you guys are all like 15K. But I, because there's no role queue, and in the past I've experienced not so pleasant things when people fight over roles, I had come to the conclusion that I should kind of just be a pushover, but in the sense that like I'll just play whatever role is asked of me. I'm going to still try to play carry, but anytime there's a carry player on my team that only marked carry, I'm just going to let them have it. Because, you know, if you remember the dual carry days and all that kind of stuff, you see it on stream still nowadays. Not mine, but others. And I looked at my last 50 games of pubs, and carry is my favorite role. It's by far my favorite role. And out of the last 50 games, I had played 8 games of carry. So I imagine a lot of you, if not all of you, probably have some thoughts about carry players in general. Whether I'm like right or wrong about, you know, the level of toxicity or reasonableness or ego of carry players. And I also bet some of you are kind of onto what my role in this is, which is that I wasn't really asking for the carry role specifically. I was honestly giving the carry role anytime that there was somebody else who explicitly wanted it, and I assumed that they would not work with me. I assumed that if I tried to fight for the carry role, fight meaning like discuss, not do anything toxic, that it wouldn't work and that it would backfire. And so I talked to the people that are helping me with the dojo. I talked to my partner, and from those conclusions, we talked about what I could do about this. And the first thing was, hey, that sounds like a really relatable frustration for a lot of members of the Dota community. Maybe not in the Mortal Draft sense, but fearing the toxicity of their teammates ahead of time, so then they don't do anything that they would otherwise do, don't communicate things they would otherwise communicate. In this case, I'm not communicating my need. I'm not communicating my desire to play carry explicitly. I'm kind of hoping that I get to play, and I'm being kind of passive. There's no passive aggressiveness in there, but I'm being passive. I'm assuming that they're not going to work with me if I tried, so I don't even bother. And so talking to them, we talked about making a video. And the inevitable conclusion was actually that I can proud to say I thought of this myself, was to do an experiment where in the last few months of my life, I have learned this idea that if you label someone a certain way, like they're unreasonable, they're toxic, and you subconsciously never explicitly state that to them, that people can detect it. And that if you think somebody's toxic and you treat them that way, that there's really no incentive nor reason for them to do anything else. Like, they can tell you don't want to work with them. They can tell you have a problem with them. So why would they work with you? And so this whole like self-fulfilling prophecy that if I believe everyone around me is toxic, that's what I'm going to see, basically. So I wanted to create an experiment that challenged that notion because, you know, we all have our blind spots, and I feel like this one's a very sensitive topic for me, and it was a blind spot for me. So my goal was, because in the past, my strategy for getting carry was not exactly the most conducive to helping the Dota community, the dual carry, like threatening to dual carry, the tree and quelling blade when somebody first picked carry. Not my proudest moments, guys. Not my proudest moments. So in the past, my strategy was purely motivated by how do I get carry role? And I think a lot of people do this. I think a lot of people feel powerless and helpless about getting the role they want to play. Most of the time, it seems to be carry. It seems like the highly sought after role in my MMR. And we result to some pretty toxic things. And my goal from this experiment was, first, yes, I would like to figure out a way to play carry. But I wanted to do it with that being the secondary goal, with the primary goal or requirement being that I believe whatever I'm doing is not negatively affecting the community and maybe even potentially positively affecting the community. So I came up with a new strategy. The strategy was, this was the best strategy that I knew how at the start of the experiment. And I decided I'm going to do this strategy for 50 games and just see what happens. So first part of the strategy was I'm going to only say I want to play carry role. Like, I'm going to mark safe lane. I'm going to go into the game with safe lane checked, and I'm going to put my icon there. And anytime I have one other carry player on my team, if there's like multiple other carry players, it gets too complex, I think. It's like a whole group discussion. That's not going to happen. So I decided anytime I have one other carry player on my team, I am going to type in chat, the team chat, I would greatly appreciate if you would roll with me for carry. So in Dota, you can type /roll, and it generates an auto number between 1 and 100. And that's been like a traditional way for people to decide who gets to play the role they want, because the person that gets the higher number plays the role. And I decided that, you know, let chance decide. You know, we're not going to have any ego. Who's the higher rank? I'll roll with you if you're lower ranked than me. If you're higher ranked than me, it's just purely going to be a very egalitarian approach that comes up to randomness, but I believe it's fairness. I believe that's like the closest version of fairness that I can come up with. So I said I would greatly appreciate if you roll with me for carry. And if they do roll with, or if they don't roll with me, or they don't work with me at all, they first pick carry, or they don't indicate that they're gonna roll at all, then I'll just move roles. Like, I'm not gonna create a fight, but I'm going to express what I believe to be reasonable, and I will give them a chance to be reasonable. That is my goal. And now the question is, you know, if you're listening to this video, I'm 19 games in so far. And, you know, you ask yourself, what do you think the results of this experiment have been so far? What do you think the results have been? So, the results thus far have been that the situation where there's one other carry player on my team has happened 12 times out of 19. And remember, before this, I had played 50 games where I only played 8 games of carry. Of those 12 times, 3 times when I stated that, the person who marked carry simply moved to another role without rolling against me. They just let me have carry. One of which was significantly higher ranked than me. That one shocked me. I'm ranked 1400 or something. The guy was ranked 700, and he moved roles. He actually moved to the 5 position role. That one shocked me. And we won that game. So out of the 12 games, there's been one other carry player. 3 of them have done that. 9 of them, I rolled against them. Or I offered the role. And out of those 9 that I offered the role, 7 of them rolled against me. And I don't know exactly, I'd have to look at my notes, but how many I won, how many I lost. It's like 3 and 4, 4 and 3. But all 7 of those times, whoever lost the role went and played a different role. And in the past, anytime I like kind of hijacked carry from somebody by like threatening them or whatever, they would always like apathetically play 5 or 4. They'd like pick Pudge and jungle or some shit, you know? Like, it was always, they didn't really try for the rest of the game. And so all of these games that I've done this and the person's moved to another role, whether it's voluntarily the first 3 or whether it's because they lost their role, everyone has tried. That is the first thing I've noticed. Everyone's tried. And the 2 people that didn't roll against me, to be quite frank, one of them drew Nazi symbols on the mini-map at some point in the game, and the other one wasn't exactly the nicest guy. So there is proof that there's, like, toxic members of the community, absolutely. Or people that maybe don't have the most care for the greater good. But out of the 12 times I've gotten a reasonable response, meaning reasonable as in, like, civil, I guess you could say, 10 times. And out of the other 7 games, there was either no other carry player on my team, so I just got it, or there were like 2 or 3 other carry players, and I just let it go. And I have played carry 12 out of 19 games. As opposed to 8 out of 50, I've played it 12 out of 19 games. And this whole thing is intended to be a video, so I'm kind of giving you guys like a behind the scenes, I guess, in the making of a future video that you'll see on my main channel. I do think there's like so many factors at play here. I think it's so fascinating. And I think the number one thing is that there's no dialogue that happens between people. That's like been one of my biggest realizations lately. Is that how often do you see streamers such as myself talking about how toxic their teammates are, how unreasonable their teammates are, how egotistical people of their role is, like mid laners, carry players, and saying, oh, these animals or these dogs or these idiots, or like how often do you hear that, right? I don't think I've done that for quite some time, but I've definitely done it in the past. And what doesn't happen is the people that are playing together don't have dialogue. Like, they don't have any sort of reasonable conversation that gives people a chance to work together. Even as simple as just a single line saying, I would greatly appreciate if you do this. And I just think that's so fascinating. I think that is just beyond fascinating that I myself had this narrative. I think we all have a narrative. And yeah, carry players are egotistical. They're unreasonable. I'm literally one. So I'm like insulting myself, I guess, at the same time. And rather than creating dialogue and trying to work through this problem with my community members, because there's only like so many people that I play with because I'm in the high immortal bracket. Instead of doing that, I would consistently, like most other streamers, if not all, talk to my viewers, talk to social media, whatever, talk in private to my friends about how toxic the Dota community is. And my goal from this video, I mean goal, is what I guess I encourage you is that perhaps you're doing the same thing. Perhaps a lot of you are, that we've all crafted our own narrative of the way the Dota community is. And that what I'm doing here is only one example of just how that perpetuates itself. And how that lack of dialogue, those assumed judgments, are a huge part of the problem, actually. If not the entire problem. And I've always said that, like, at least recently, I've always said that, like, there's always 2 sides to every coin. There's always, you know, a part that we all play in any situation that we're in. And we all have our blind spots too. And it's been an epiphany to realize how much of a role I played in the supposed toxicity of my teammates. And this isn't about right and wrong. This isn't about who is to blame and who's, you know, justified or whatever. It's about me taking responsibility and trying my best to think, how can I best contribute to this scenario, regardless of how my teammates act. Regardless. Like, it doesn't matter how they act. It's like, I want to be proud of the way that I contribute to this. And honestly, I think this experiment's a success regardless. Like, even if it was confirmed, like, everyone says, fuck you, you know, sort of deal. Like, I'm not gonna roll with you, idiot. That's not happened once, by the way. The people who didn't roll with me just said nothing. That was, like, their response. They just said nothing. I checked that I did not have them muted. Actually, I did have them muted, but then I unmuted them. Ironically, the 2 people that didn't roll with me, I did have muted prior to that. But I also had a few of the people that did roll with me muted. So I had to unmute a lot of carry players. That says a lot about me, more so than anything. But yeah, that's my food for thought for this video. I think it's... I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. You know, I say in the comments or whatever, but I'd much prefer to hear them in my live stream because I love to read your guys' comments, but I don't like the whole idea that I mentioned in this video is the dialogue. So, you know, a comment's kind of talking at me rather than with me, which, you know, is the dialogue of like in the Twitch chat kind of thing. But yeah, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to be continuing this experiment all the way to 50 games, and then I will be making a video on it. And this is obviously the early stages, and I could be completely jaded by the end of it. But I've already played 50% more games of carry in 19 games than I did in 50. So regardless, stating your needs and doing it assertively and politely clearly does something, guys. Regardless of how it ends up turning out. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the next update.